I'm Cindy Holmes, and I have a show here at Track called The Visible Thought. The visible thought is basically all my paintings are my thoughts, what's happening to me, what I'm thinking about, what's going on in the world that makes me think. I think when I changed to acrylics and I changed what I was painting, I went from the landscape to more people-oriented, but also I wanted to just do something that made me think, because when I did make that change, I thought, what did I want to say? And I got to thinking about what did I love when I went to a gallery, and mainly I love paintings that made me think about them after I left. They didn't have to be beautiful. They didn't have to be perfect realism or anything like that. They didn't have to be totally abstract, but it had to be a painting that I really thought about later on, that I remembered. I started thinking about phrases, and especially cliches. And cliches are my absolute favorite. I love them. And back then, so many of my paintings were based on the basic cliche saying. And you know, it's something that we hear so often that nobody wants to hear it anymore, but people respond to it because it has happened to them, and they know exactly what you mean when you say a cliche. I have one downstairs on the second floor, and that's just throw me under the bus and let me lie. And you know, people say, well, I just got thrown under the bus. And people know exactly what you mean, and in a way that you were betrayed or something like that. They know what you're talking about. Most of the time, I have one thought that hits me, that I'm going like, oh, I want to paint that. Now, I'm not very political, but I did the painting Belligerent because I was so mad about some of women's rights being taken away. And but that's what happens to me, not just political, which is very seldom, but it's usually one thought that occurs to me. This simple painting over here with the wind chimes in it, that was just because I bought a pair of wind chimes, and it reminded me of my childhood having wind chimes out of my bedroom window. Dreams of revenge down there, actually some things are based on either poetry or books. And Dreams of Revenge was part of a poem by Sylvia Plath, and how revenge could eat at you and tear you apart. So, you know, that's where I go. Something might inspire me from a story or a poetry or a childhood memory. All of my work is figurative now, abstracted figurative, I guess. I was never drawn to the superrealism. And so I find that sometimes leaving out something says more than rendering precision-like details. I think eating birds was one that maybe 5 years down the road, I'll say, oh, sell the sucker. But right now, I'm attached to it, and I don't want to sell it, and it's one of my favorite pieces. And I have no idea why, because even though the story was interesting and I really liked it, and I'm a great big reader, but it wasn't so much the story, but somehow the painting just kind of spoke to me, and I wanted to keep it. I like humorous ones to a big extent. I know a lot of people tell me my paintings are kind of dark, and I know some of them do get a bit dark. They talk about dark subjects, to me anyway. But some of them are just stupid humor. like contemplating my navel downstairs. That was from my mother when I was little, and I was sitting there doing nothing. She would holler at me and say, "Get up and quit contemplating your navel and do something." Thinking about that later on just made me laugh. So some make me laugh, some are dark, some are just a thought that passed through my mind. So yeah. One of my other favorites is the painting We All Fall Down. And it's one of the more abstracted figures, and it's kind of not exactly based upon a cliche, but in a way it is, because it's one of those things, well, oh, we all fall down, whether it's physically, mentally, socially, whatever, we all fall down at some point in our lives. And that's kind of what that was based on.